Remind Me to Smile, The Life and Times of a Teenage Numanoid takes us back to a world once populated by Betamax, Fine Fair, Kenny Everett and Gary Newman. Back in the distant days of 1977, Martin Downham was turning into the archetypal stroppy know-it-all teenager, angry for no good reason, rude, insolent, indolent, bone idle and rebellious. And those were only the good points. Delighted to be joining me on the line. He's transformed a little bit since then, but the author of Remind Me to Smile, The Life and Times of a Teenage Numanoid, Martin Downham himself. Martin, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Giles. How are you doing?
I'm, well, another day on the Costa del Sol. It's got to be better than Brixton, as I always say. So tell me, I mean, just listening to that again, it took me back to watching Top of the Pops, you know, on was it a Thursday late night on Top of the Pops, I think I remember, and my parents being appalled by Gary Newman because he couldn't, you know, he wasn't a band, you know, he was on his own, it was all, was he wearing makeup? And it wasn't, you know, Bowie roll makeup.
Goodness me,
Good grief.
Outrageous.
So that was, you know, Gary Newman. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your reaction and why you decided to write this fantastic book.
Oh, well, thanks very much for having me. It's a long story. It's a book about me, and it's a book about the events that shaped my life in the 70s, and it's how the impact of Gary Newman, Tubeway Army, and especially Our Friends Electric had on me at a time when I was in a pretty bad place, and I'd say angry for no good reason, turning into the archetypal stroppy teenager. Mm-hmm. And it was just a song, it just floored me. I'd never heard anything like it before, and it was like it spoke to me. And there are the obvious parallels to David Bowie, and I didn't see it. It's like I'd never seen anything like it before in my life. Mm-hmm. Bowie had kind of passed me by, so I'd missed heroes, I'd missed Bowie arguably at the top of his creative powers. And so Gary Newman, it was just a song that changed my life, and it just knocked me flat, and I'd never seen anything like it before. And
the other thing, of course, is, you know, you're coming off the back of punk then, when everybody was angry, but everybody was angry with guitars and, you know, and thrashing stuff around and gobbing. Do you remember gobbing at the stage?
How revolting.
I know, but Tubeway Army came on, and again, I go back to the Top of the Pops appearance that I saw, and they weren't a band. There wasn't a drum kit. It was just synths, and we'd never. I mean, because we didn't get Kraftwerk because, you know, in the 70s. But, you know, I'm from Stoke. We certainly didn't get Kraftwerk in Stoke in the 70s. so you know, it was totally new.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that he's, you know, in all the Top of the Pops performances you'd seen throughout the 70s, everyone was looking for the camera, everyone was looking for their close-up, as if to say, you know, hello, Mum, here I am, I'm on Top of the Pops. But when I saw Tubeway Army and Gary Newman standing there, virtually immobile, bathed completely in white light, it was like unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was like he was there under duress.
And also, you said, you know, the brilliant "Remind Me to Smile" because, you know, he wasn't being, he didn't look happy being there, did he? Let's face it,
he's not a smiler, but he was the one. He was just the record that changed my life. I heard that, and I knew I'd never heard anything like that before, and it was just the one song that sort of drew me out of my teenage depression. And there's a whole backstory which I won't go into here, but it's events that shaped my life, and it was the song that just drew me out of this inarticulate depression, and it turned me around.
So when you say it turned you around and it changed your life, did you then, because where were you actually living in the UK at the time?
I was in sunless Surrey.
Sunless Surrey, right?
Just around the corner from the Toby Jug where Ziggy Stardust started the tour.
Okay. Fair enough. And so what form did this... I mean, did you immediately go out and buy some eye makeup and you know, do your hair in a Gary Newman style and wander around a jumpsuit looking glum?
No, I didn't wear a jumpsuit, but I did dye my hair black. Right. And I looked so ill. It was not something I repeated again.
But it doesn't, because Tubeway Army did have an effect on youth culture. Suddenly, we went from being almost overnight, because we had the glam stuff, and then we had, you know, and we were going dangerous down a prog rock road. Then we had the explosion and the implosion of punk,
which was very, very short period if you think about it. If you look back, it was a very short, very angry shout in the music scene.
And then, when everyone was wondering what was going to fill the thing, you know, and we hoped it wasn't racy or something like that, or dollar.
God.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Gary Newman comes on, and this is pre. Spandau coming along, all that Blitz stuff happening,
exactly.
And the New Romantic. So it really is and it brings in the and I'm saying your own book here, but it brings in the electronic music. We'll then get with the Yazoo and all that sort of stuff.
Well, exactly. I mean, Gary Newman's never claimed to be an innovator. He's never claimed to be the man who introduced synthesizers into music, because there was Kraftwerk, there was all sorts of German bands in the early to mid 70s. But as he rightly claims, he was the one who made synthesizers popular.
Yeah.
At a time when the nihilistic self-expression of punk was starting to fade, and there was, as you say, there was nothing to fill that void. And then along came someone who wanted to be a star. He was very much, I want to be on top of the pops, even if I look like I'm under duress. But he wanted to be a star. He wanted to do big stage shows. He wanted to go on tour. And it was just something about this very clinical sound on the synthesizers that made a lot of people think, hang on, there's a career in this. I'm sure he opened the floodgates for what was a lot of synth bands that soon followed.
Did you actually get to see him on tour? Because as an artist with a synth, you think he wouldn't be that good, but his live shows were quite theatrical and quite something. I mean, there are 3 or 4 live albums, aren't there?
Absolutely. I mean, sadly, I didn't get to see him until 1983. And I tried to get tickets for his allegedly farewell tour in 1981, but it was completely sold out. He sold out Wembley for, I think it was for 3 nights.
Okay.
So I didn't actually get to see him until 83 on the Warriors tour. But, you look at his performances on DVD from the Touring Principle in 79, and it's just a magnificent stage show. He's just a natural showman. It's a wonderful performance.
So what was life like as a teenage Newman? Because you're a Gary Newman fan, and you're a boy, and you're going through all the teenage things. So did you sort of bond like mately with other Newman people? Did you not sort of stand around and were there girls? Is the other thing.
Were there girls? I was pretty much on my own. All my peers at school were either into the dying echoes of the original punk movement, or they were into new wave, the Police, Elvis Costello. Then there was the two-tone revival of 79 and 80, so it's the Jam, Secret Affair, and there's people who liked still all the disco and the soul stuff. So I was pretty much on my own, although I had a very good friend called Terry Easton, who's mentioned in the book. He was a big Newman fan, so we bonded, together and spent many an hour listening to replicas and the Pleasure Principle and just drinking illicit bottles of wine and illicit beer and just listening to this strange, unearthly music. It was a exciting time, but quite lonely as well.
Well, it kind of so that the music sort of suited it as well. I like this idea because I've forgotten this. At the same time, you've got Blondie coming through, the Police. You've got punk phasing out. You've got Elvis Costello and the Attractions.
Exactly.
I forgot the two-tone revival, and there would still be some disco people out there, wouldn't there, doing Odyssey and the whole bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then got you and your mate in the corner, sort of, going
miserable.
And of course,
my brother Peter was well into his disco and all his soul singles and Stevie Wonder, so our tastes couldn't have been more opposite. He loved all the disco stuff, and I'm sitting there, this pale, pimply, skinny youth, listening to all this clinical synthesizer. It was just, he didn't like him.
And also, you brought into the book some names from the past that made me smile. I mean, Fine Fare.
Fine Fare, yes.
Do you remember those?
Yes. Yeah, it was at bottom of Tolworth Tower. It was the biggest supermarket in Europe at one point. And, there was some fun and games there. I couldn't possibly comment any further.
Well, no, I'm saying from Stoke-on-Trent, but a Fine Fare landed in the middle of Newcastle under Lyme, and it was their colours, and I can still remember, were vivid oranges and greens, weren't they?
Right. Yeah, you should see my overall.
And it looked like the mothership had landed in the middle of this place. It was quite something, and it was all that 70s. That the 70s architecture was sort of oblong. All the corners were rounded.
That's right. That's exactly it. It was a strange place.
Indeed. And Betamax, of course, which was the great Betamax VHS war, which Betamax lost quite successfully.
Betamax was the future, though. Surely, that's what we were told anyway when we spent about £1,500 on hire purchase buying a Betamax machine over the course of 5 years.
Yes.
And it was wonderful. It was unbelievable being able to record a program and then watch it back in a couple of minutes later, it was just wonderful.
Yeah, but we talk about record a program, but of course at that time there were only 3 TV stations. So.
Exactly. Yes, only 3. Channel 4 was a few years off. Yeah.
Exactly. And the wonderful Kenny Everett.
God bless him.
Yeah. He was kind of a Gary Newman of the airways, because he was just totally, people they either got him completely or couldn't stand him. Mary Whitehouse used to go absolutely purple every time his show was on.
That's a very good comparison. You either liked Kenny Everett and his fairly anarchic humour, or you didn't. And that's a good parallel between liking Gary Newman and Tubeway Army. Very few people were kind of, oh, he's all right. You either liked it or you didn't like it. But Kenny Everett had a memorable performance of I Die, You Die by Gary Newman on early 1980. And it was just a phenomenal piece of footage. It's 2 minutes long, and that just knocked me flat as well.
Oh, how did you? You've obviously you mentioned the Warriors tour, and then he bought planes and he crashed planes, and we kind of and he kind of went off the radar for a bit, didn't he?
He did. Beggars Banquet, who was his original record label, made it reasonably clear by about 1983, late 80 or early 84, that he wasn't their main artist anymore. So he said, right, I'll go and form my own record label, which was Numa Records. And, it was a noble endeavour. He wanted to release his own records. He wanted his own roster of performing artists. And it just proved more difficult than he thought. It was more difficult to get records circulated. His, star wasn't exactly in ascendance anymore. So it was a difficult period for him. But nevertheless, some fantastic music was released during that time.
And you stayed loyal to the Newman, and what's it like to be maybe not a teenage Numanoid, but a
middle-aged one,
a middle-aged Numanoid?
It's wonderful, Giles. It's a wonderful experience. And about 10 years ago, Gary Newman did a tour of just the Telecon album, complete start to finish, and all associated singles.
Telecon was, if you like, everybody knows the Pleasure Principle,
yeah. But
Telecon is perhaps his purest work, you'd say.
Oh, I would say so. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of work, and it's full of subtle hints that he's about to retire from performing. But nevertheless, there's some wonderful songs on there. Remind Me to Smile, for example, which is where I get the title of the book from. But he performed the album in its entirety, and there's lots of like-minded and similarly aged people in the audience. And there was a guy, must have been 6'4", standing next to me, shaven head, covered in tattoos, muscles rippling under his vest, and he was crying his eyes out. Absolute floods of tears.
Oh, isn't that the great power of music, and that's probably what got you to write this book as well? Exactly,
yes. Music is a great stimuli. It's very evocative. And it's like, certain smells can take you back to, exquisite perfume of your first girlfriend, and your first music can take you back to an era where there's no surprises. You obviously had a more classy girlfriend than my first girlfriend, who had exquisite perfumes. I can assure you. I think mine got hers from Fine Fair. Quite possibly, yeah. Yeah. Maybe not the exquisite perfume of teenagers then. Maybe not.
How did you go about doing this book then? How did you go about researching it? Was it just going through? Because everybody's got the story of their teenage years, but how did you keep a diary? How did you keep?
Long. I'll try and make a long story very short. I used to work with at Guinness Book of Records, Guinness World Records, and David Roberts used to manage the Guinness Book of Hit Singles. So he and I hit it off straight away. And a few years later, we were both let go by Guinness, and he started up his own company. And over a very moist lunch one day, he said, well, what book could I do next? I've done all the dry indices of music and charts. What can I do next? And we batted back ideas, and he said, we agreed on the song that changed my life. Okay. And we envisaged it being a book of about 15 chapters by people saying, the Beatles were the songs, their songs changed my life, this song by Blondie, this song by The Police, this song by Bowie just changed my life. Everyone has that similar song and a story to go with it. So we thought that was a good idea, and I volunteered to write the first chapter about our friends the Electric Tubeway Army, Gary Newman. And we touted that around various publishers, and they were very positive feedback, but nobody was prepared to to commission the book. So we kept it on a back burner, and I just added to this initial chapter. And the research is I'm an inveterate diary keeper, so I've got diaries going back to the mid-70s. So all the teenage angst is all written down.
Marvellous.
Various ratty old books I've got.
And revisiting that must have been quite a, I would say, a cleansing experience, probably.
Quite cathartic. It's, you address certain things, and as I've alluded to, there was a major event. One of my parents died very suddenly. My mother died just before my 14th birthday, which was quite a life changer.
Sure.
And that sent me down in this spiral of inarticulate depression and despair, and you don't expect your parents to pass away suddenly. And so it was quite cathartic revisiting those diary entries and these lengthy paragraphs about how you were feeling, and it's just to address things you perhaps didn't address back at the time. So it's quite a cleansing experience. It's quite enjoyable. Just to reflect back on it, as I say, to times when, there's no surprises. You know exactly what's going to happen because you were there back in 79 and 1980 and 81 and so on.
Absolutely. So the basic question, what are you going to do next then?
Next? Oh, that's a very good question. If I could sell the film rights to it, I'd be very, very happy.
Marvellous. Actually, has the great man himself seen the book? Do you know?
We have managed to get a copy to him, but there's been no response from the Newman camp. But he has got a copy, was sent to him by Hornet Books.
I've just got this vision of the Newman camp. You've just thought of that, something with, a lot of hydrias and strobes and
yes.
some very unsmiling minions in black jumpsuits.
I don't think so, but that's the popular image of him sitting in some secluded, darkened room with throbbing music in the background.
Thank God you said throbbing music, mate. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I'll choose my words carefully.
Indeed. If the book is called "Remind Me to Smile: The Life and Times of a Teenage Numanoid," it came out at the end of last year under, is it Hornet Books?
Hornet Books. David Roberts, my friend and associate from a long way back, has been very patient in getting the book to market, and my wife Vicky has been very patient as I've been disappearing up to the study to add bits to each chapter. So, and my boys Peter and Sam have been very patient as well. So next, one of the comments on Amazon was it's quadrophenia for numanoids, and I think that's a great sums up the book. And if we go for a second edition, that's going to be plastered on the back cover.
The quote. If people want to find out a bit more about yourself or the book, is there a website? Do you do the social media thing? Is there Facebook?
We're on Twitter. It's at @RemindMe2Smile. So at Remind Me to Smile, and I've got an author's page on Amazon. So no immediate plans in terms of a follow-up book, but hopefully at some point we'll do an expanded edition. If there's sufficient demand, we'll do possibly with some pictures in this time, which is something we couldn't do on this first printing of that.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to that. It's going to be available as well on the Talk Radio Europe website, talkradioeurope.com. The book, Remind Me to Smile: The Life and Times of a Teenage Numanoid. It made me smile just looking at the cover and going through the press notes. Absolutely superb.
That's sweet of you.
Hopefully we will, when it's reissued, we can have another interview like this again. Keep in touch with us, Martin. Martin Downham. Thanks so much for your time today. We're going to play out with a little bit of Cars, I think.
God bless you. Thank you ever so much, Giles.